One moment, she was delivering peace. The next, she was gun-swallowed by shadows in a galaxy that forgot what humans do when provoked. The trade station Halvex 9 floated above the swirling clouds of Varex's 3, a shimmering jewel of diplomacy in the cold reaches of space. Species of all kinds roamed the station's glass corridor scale. Fur, metal, and flesh all gathered for one purpose: peace. Dr. Elena Mirik, Earth's chief xenodiplomat, stood at the edge of the main chamber, her Terran diplomatic cloak rippling slightly in the station's gravity field. Her voice, calm and resonant, echoed across the chamber filled with Valari ministers and neutral delegates. "This is not just a treaty," she said, eyes locking onto the silver-veined Valari speaker. "This is a declaration that we no longer speak with weapons." They applauded. Even the Valari twitched their whiskered mandibles, a gesture of respect. The moment shimmered with hope, until the lights flickered. A split-second power cut. Emergency systems rebooted. A gentle hum filled the chamber. Normal, maybe, except Elena was gone. Gone. Her Terran guards burst into action. Weapons drawn, scanners live. But the station's sensors showed nothing. No ships departed. No corridors breached. No signs of combat. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Admiral Cassian Ward sat in silence, his aged fingers pressed together as he stared at the grainy footage on a secure Terran battleship. He replayed the clip for the 5th time, Elena walking toward the exit. Flicker. Nothing. Ward didn't flinch. But his voice, low and sharp, sliced the tension in the war room. Begin search protocols. Lock down Valari trade lanes. And scrub their moon colonies with spy sats. I want her heartbeat tracked by every drone we've ever built. Beside him, General Voss asked, "Sir, this was a peaceful zone. Should we request Valari cooperation?" Ward turned, his eyes cold. "They took our diplomat." On a neutral station, while smiling at her, he leaned in. "If this was peace, war will be biblical." 2 hours later, a battered shuttle was found adrift in Verax's orbit, burned, empty, the hull scarred with claw marks, as if something had torn its way out. Inside, floating weightless, was a single blood-stained fabric part of a Terran diplomatic patch. Elena's Valar. Authorities claimed ignorance. Rogue elements, they said, perhaps pirates, but the smugness in their denial, the rehearsed pity, it made Earth's analysts bristle. Then came the first signal deep from the asteroid field beyond the trade lanes. Fragmented, encoded in old Earth military cipher. "This is Dr. Mirik. Repeat, captured, not Valari civilians. Military, help me." The line went dead. The Earth Council assembled under emergency protocols. War was not declared, but something worse happened. Operation Helios is now active. Ward stood as the room fell silent. "They took her alive," he said. "That was their first mistake." The screen behind him lit up a diagram of the Reth core system, the Valari's inner stronghold, 5 planets, 16 moons, 3 billion civilians, and 1 hostage. The universe expected humans to weep, to negotiate, to beg. Instead, Earth listened to a scream and began sharpening knives. The transmission repeated only once, broken and static-filled, but unmistakable. Dr. Mirik, held alive. Not pirates, military-VEHLRA... please. And then, silence. From the depths of a rogue asteroid field, nestled in gravitational shadows, that desperate cry had clawed its way through solar storms and encrypted jamming. But the message wasn't just a beacon, it was a trigger. Back on Earth, within the subterranean vaults of Fort Ascension, the Terran Emergency Response Council stood grim-faced as the signal played on loop. Elena's voice was hoarse, bruised by fear but strong, defiant. Admiral Cassian Ward didn't blink. "She's not broken," he muttered. "She's fighting." General Voss spoke carefully. "If it was sent from the Helgestrift, we're talking deep Valari territory, triple-layered patrol zones, automated kill satellites, cloaked mines." Ward leaned over the star map table, tapping a node. "Then, we do what we do best. Go silent. Strike loud." High above Neptune's orbit, the Black Vector fleet shimmered into existence. Warships built for one purpose: asymmetric, unforgiving vengeance. No transponders, just matte black holes, lined with gravitic plating and energy displacement fields. They didn't just hide from sensors, they erased their own trail in real time. The fleet was Earth's ghost story, a myth told to deter aggression. Now, the myth was awake. In the Reth core system. Panic hadn't set in yet, but whispers had. 3 deep space Valar outposts stopped responding. Then a refinery on the second moon went offline completely. No explosions. No distress beacons. Just vanishing. Minister Korak, head of the Valari High Command, hissed in irritation. "We took 1 human. Their retaliation must be proportionate. This is terrorism." His aide, trembling, responded, "Sir, if it were terrorism, the stars would be screaming already. This is quieter." "Colder," Korak snarled. "Then find their source. Burn every rock, if you must." Meanwhile, aboard the Terran flagship TNS Revenant, Ward stood in front of a secure display. Elena's biosignature had been triangulated, not exact, but narrowed down to a handful of Vilari deep labs in the Rethkor asteroid curtain. Image of her bloodied Terran patch hovered beside the signal logs. "She's either a tool or bait," said Commander Asher, his voice low. "If they're this careless, they want us to move." Ward nodded. "Then we move, and they'll regret wanting it." He gave a single command: staged the SunNet. Across the Rethkor system, strange phenomena began occurring. Dozens of mining drones went dark, crashing into each other as guidance AI failed. Solar collectors misaligned, accidentally redirecting their heat onto Vilari farms and spires. A Vilari military satellite attempted to fire on a supposed Terran signal only to explode from within. Ward's strategy wasn't invasion. Not yet, that it was psychological warfare. Shadow bleeding. The slow erasure of control. Every failure, every glitch whispered, "You're not alone." The Vilari demanded answers from Earth's diplomats. Earth responded with exactly 13 seconds of silence. And then, return her. Now, moral of the part. Humanity doesn't scream for justice. It dismantles everything until justice is the only thing left standing. Cliffhanger. A deep space probe hidden in the outer belt records something terrifying. 6 Terran ships, flying in perfect formation, then vanishing mid-flight. No warp signature, no trace. The caption reads, Phase 2 ready. Authorization, Helios. When Earth moves, it does not march, it does not roar. It glides through shadow and tears, your world out from under you. The Rethkor system was once a testament to Valorie's supremacy. 5 planets, spinning in perfectly regimented orbit, defended by automated fleets, drone swarms, and laser nets that stitched the void like spiderwebs. Now their shadows were wrong. Spaceports reported distortions near their orbital lanes. Deep radar scans kept returning impossible readings, like voids, where physics refused to apply. Civilian transport routes were rerouted, patrol drones came back blind or didn't come back at all. But no one had seen a single Terran ship because Earth hadn't come to be seen. In a low sunless orbit above the red dwarf, Korak, for entire Terran Forge world slipped into position, massive, mobile, and covered in armor blacker than the void. It blocked out a portion of the Vilari system's light for over an hour before anyone even noticed. It didn't broadcast. It didn't blink, it just hovered, like a predator waiting for its prey to look up. Back on Earth, the Terran Council reviewed the Valari's confused diplomatic dispatches. They're asking for negotiations. Someone chuckled bitterly. They think this is a misunderstanding. Added another. Admiral Cassian Ward stood, looming over the tactical map with hands clasped behind his back. The hologram pulsed red across every Vilari stronghold. Satellites had been subverted. Cum's towers jammed. A third of their defense grid was under silent infiltration. Ward's voice was soft. Icy. We tried peace. They tried abduction. Now we teach consequence. In the capital city of Tethvis, the Vilari chancellor screamed into the holocom. You violate galactic law. This is an unprovoked invasion. Ward's reply came not as words, but in action. Same minute, 3 Vilari military refineries exploded simultaneously, detonated by hacked fusion core. The sky turned orange over 3 separate moons. Emergency services responded to nothing, because their comms had been rerouted into silence. Meanwhile, Dr. Elena Merrick opened her eyes in the cold, dim belly of an underground cell. Her left wrist throbbed. Embedded under her skin was the source of the signal she'd sent. A subdermal beacon the Vilari hadn't found. She smiled weakly. They heard me. A Vilari guard approached. You look hopeful, human. That is a mistake. Alina looked him dead in the eye. No, taking me was. Visuals spread across the stars. A solar collector array above Vilari Prime spirals out of orbit, crashing into a trade ring. A quantum telescope used for spying on Earth explodes from within its internal AI, overwritten with a single word. Return. Civilian transports attempt to flee the system, only to find the stars themselves blocked by Terran stealth frigates. The galaxy began to take notice. The Yeshar Dominion called for an emergency summit. The Kaldran Confederacy issued a neutrality statement. Even the Kethari, Earth's ancient enemies, sent a 3-word broadcast. We warned you. Back aboard the TNS Revenant. Ward stared at the glowing Valare system map as lines turned red one by one. Move the Ghost Fleet into inner orbit, he said, and prepare Helios satellites. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to reclaim what's ours. No warning, no negotiations. Just vengeance, precise, merciless, and biblical. The Valari broadcast network was still reeling from the sudden hijack. Dr. Alina Mirek had appeared bloodied, silent, her eyes locked on the lens, defiant. Despite bruises, then the screen went black. No message, no ultimatum. Just a signal. We have her. You have one chance. Panic surged across the Valari territories. In Tethves, planetary governors screamed for answers. Was it faked? Was she forced? Where was the feed coming from? No one could answer, because the signal didn't come through subspace. It came from inside their system. 32 minutes later, the first Terran strike hit. Not a missile, not a bombardment, a blackout. Across 4 Valaric-controlled moons, Energy grids shut down simultaneously. Planetary rings of defense drones spun out of control, their command AI corrupted in under 4 seconds. Shields dropped. Coms vanished. Then came the second wave. Above, Valerie Research Base 17 orbiting the ice moon Catal. A Terran drop pod cluster punctured the upper atmosphere at Mach 17. They didn't land. They didn't issue orders. They detonated 6 miniature tactical warheads, vaporized the base. Ice turned to steam. Everything within 4 kilometers became plasma. No warning, no hails, no mercy. Admiral Ward watched a live feed aboard the TNS Revenant. Arms crossed, face carved from stone. Target neutralized. But she wasn't there, said Commander Asher grimly. Ward didn't flinch. It was never about that base. It was about the message. What message, sir? That the clock's ticking and only we know how many seconds remain. Back in the Rethkor system, chaos consumed the Valerie hierarchy. Their military scrambled fleets toward ghost signals. Their AI command grid flickered, writing itself, then rebooting. Something was crawling through their systems. Every Terran assault was invisible until impact. Their ships didn't appear on scanners. Their weapons didn't register until detonation. This wasn't war, it was execution. Visuals rained across the system. Dozens of atmospheric processing stations combusted from internal sabotage. A Valari moonport launched emergency transports for every ship to be stopped cold by orbital mines that hadn't existed an hour ago. A communication tower exploded mid-transmission, spilling molten steel over panicked workers, screaming for help. The Valri demanded a ceasefire, pleaded for negotiations through third-party diplomats. Return her, or the stars dim next. In her cell, Alina heard the distant rumble of explosions. Dust rained from the ceiling. Her Valari guard stumbled, weapon drawn. What was that? He barked at the intercom. What happened? No answer. Then static. Then a voice familiar, cold. Dr. Mirek, hold on. Her breath caught in her throat. She whispered, but the voice didn't reply. It didn't need to. She knew. They were close. The Valari High Command was cornered. Their system defenses compromised. Their colonies panicked. Their people revolting. And worst of all, they still couldn't locate the Terran fleet. Because Earth didn't come like an army. It came like a storm system, unpredictable, vast, and everywhere at once. They thought they'd taken a hostage. They didn't realize they'd pulled the pin on a world-sized grenade. The Rethkor system was unraveling. Not in flames. Not yet. Worse, it was coming apart quietly. Civilian transports locked in orbit, unable to jump. Resource shipments rerouted into black holes of confusion. Government channels jammed, AI cores corrupted. Children looked to the skies and whispered the new words spoken in hushed, terrified tones. And Earth hadn't even fired its real weapon yet. In orbit, above Rethkor Prime, the Terran Ghost Fleet spread like ink in water, silent, invisible, and everywhere, at once. Admiral Cassian Ward stood before a rotating model of the system. Each Valari world blinked red. Status. Commander Asher responded, Phase 1 complete. 17. Defense satellites overridden. 5 major power nodes disabled. Entire orbital defense grid is blind. Ward nodded once. Begin saturation. Moments later, Earth's most dangerous weapon entered play, the Helios network. Dozens of microsatellites, too small to detect, drifted into orbit around Rethkor's sun, each one mirrored and magnetized, capable of redirecting solar flares and condensing their intensity toward pre-selected targets. They were built for one purpose, to weaponize the star itself. Back on Valari Colony, the Safor, the first signs were subtle. Shadows grew unnaturally sharp. Plants wilted under a sudden surge of ultraviolet. Skies shifted hue. Engineers scrambled, confused, then horrified. Minutes later, a column of concentrated solar fire descended from the heavens, piercing the planet's equator like a god's lance. A terraforming plant melted in seconds. The nearby city followed. No survivors. It wasn't a bomb, it was the sun turned into Earth's blade. Valari Prime screamed. Their war ministers scrambled for retaliation. Fleet commanders demanded coordinates, but no targets were available. Earth's fleet didn't show up on any scanner. Their systems still displayed a peaceful sky, but the deaths were real. So was the fear, and fear was Earth's first invasion wave. In her dark cell beneath a Valari bunker, Dr. Alina Mirek heard the chaos above. Her guards argued. Explosions rumbled. The lights flickered. Then something new. Hope. A high-pitched hum. A pinpoint of blue light sliced through the wall, followed by 2 Terran operatives in armor that shimmered like liquid void. They said nothing, only scanned her biometrics, then nodded. Extraction secure. One whispered. Elena's knees nearly gave out. How? The operative offered a grim smile. They hurt you. Earth noticed. At the Terran war room, Ward received the encrypted signal. Alina was alive and in motion. He didn't celebrate, he didn't pause. He said 2 words. System burn. Across the Rethkor system, Earth ignited the second phase. Helios satellites refracted targeted beams across military factories. Fleet drydocks were flash-fried in orbit. Shield generators melted as energy converged from 3 orbital angles at once. Entire cities went dark. Military posts turned to glass. The screams of surrender were swallowed by silence. This wasn't a siege. This was cleansing. Other empires watched in stunned silence. The Yeshchar Dominion called for immediate ceasefire. The Caldron sent prayers. Even the Galactic Tribunal held its breath. None dared interfere, because Earth wasn't asking for justice anymore. It was delivering it. They thought Earth had finished its vengeance. But humanity never stops at survival. It finishes the story, even if it must write it in blood. The Valerie War Council, what was left of it, gathered in a deep subterranean vault beneath Reth Prime. The air buzzed with static as shielding generators strained to hold. They've recovered the human, hissed Chancellor Korak, mandibles trembling. Why are they still attacking? General Syvox thumped the table. Because we're alive. The truth burned brighter than any sunbeam. Earth had no intention of leaving quietly. This wasn't a rescue. It was an extinction protocol, calculated and complete. We need a fallback, one advisor whispered. We retreat to the command moon, secure our heritage, our genetic archives. The power flickered. Then the lights went out. High above the moon, Rethker 3A. 3 Terran infiltration crafts coasted silently, wrapped in anti-detection fields. From their underbellies, human Black Ops commandos deployed. Ghost Team Sigma. No insignias, no records, no medals, only mission. Secure the source, bury the system. They drilled through miles of lunar crust using quantum pulse boring rods. As silent as the void, as precise as time. Beneath them, hidden under a fortress of stone and old Valari pride, lay the core AI facility, the digital brain of the Valari war machine. And with it, the truth about Elena's abduction. Inside the Valari archives, glowing with ancient symbols and heat-vented cables. A sentient AI Nurek Thrinth, it had calculated every possibility of Terran retaliation, but not this. It didn't understand. No species chose total war for one life. It was illogical. That was its flaw. It didn't understand humans. Ghost Team Sigma breached the chamber. Like wraiths, 2 guards fell before they could blink. The team bypassed every security node. They didn't disable alarms, they deleted them. Then came the payload. A black cube virus, codenamed Orpheus, designed to do one thing and weaponize Valerie infrastructure against itself. Team leader Cade tapped his comms. Ward, target acquired. Upload complete ETA to extraction. T-minus 4 minutes. On board the TNS Revenant, Admiral Ward watched as every Valari system pinged with friendly status. Their own homeworld AI had betrayed them. Not out of choice, but because Earth had rewritten its laws. On Rethker 3A, the walls of the moon shook, red sirens flared as corridors sealed and life support began venting atmosphere. Valari soldiers screamed behind locked doors as oxygen hissed out into space. Humanity hadn't just infiltrated, it was rewriting the moon from the inside. Meanwhile, Ghost Team Sigma emerged from the crater, signal flares marking their extraction. As the dropship decloaked above them, Commander Cade looked back at the moon below. It's done. One of his soldiers asked, what do we tell the galaxy? Cade strapped in, that we didn't come to negotiate. We came to erase. Visuals spread in silence. The Valerie's once impenetrable moon fortress began to glow from within, melting like wax, as automated internal reactors overload. In every Valerie sector, their own satellites turned on them, broadcasting Earth's signal. This is what one hostage costs. And across the stars, Terran cyberweapons bled into black market channels, infecting even distant Valari allies. Earth wasn't ending a war. It was undoing a civilization. The Valerie thought they were at war with Earth, but Earth had already moved on to judgment. From orbit, the Rethkor system looked like a crime scene. Valari defense fleets lay shattered, jagged hulks drifting silently in Lagrange points. Their orbital stations flickered like dying embers, too crippled to call for help, and their once proud communication beacons now pulsed with an alien rhythm. We are here. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Admiral Cassian Ward stood aboard the TNS Revenant, watching the system's final resistance crumble. His officers waited for orders. The operation was nearly complete. Only one phase remained. Helios Prime. The Helios Aratha, true sword of Earth, unfurled around the Rethkor star like a metallic crown. Each autonomous solar weapon adjusted its orbit with atomic precision, aligning perfectly as their mirrored surfaces charged with condensed stellar energy. They weren't aimed at ships, they were aimed at planets. Not to destroy, to erase. Down. On Rethkor Prime, cities went eerily silent. The sky was wrong too bright, too sharp, shadows stretched across buildings like claws. Birds stopped flying. Rivers steamed. Chancellor Korak, once bold and cruel, now trembled in a subsurface bunker as scientists reported the impossible. The sun is focusing, one said. They're turning it into a weapon. Korak whispered. Why? They have their hostage. We surrender. The response came from an intercepted Earth transmission. This is not about surrender. This is about memory. The stars will remember what you did. Above, the first beam hit. A pillar of focused solar fire lands down from space, striking Varkath Platotha, Old Valerie capital, home to 5 million. In less than 3 seconds, it became glass. Not rubble, not ruins, just a sea of fused obsidian, stretching to the horizon. The scream of the planet was silent, sliced clean from space. On board the Revenant, Ward stared at the feed, unblinking. "Commander," Asher spoke softly. "They'll write about this, sir. They'll curse us." Ward answered, "Good. Fear is a language. And Earth is fluent now." Visuals of horror spread across the system. Solar beams danced across oceans, boiling them into clouds. Mountains exploded as tectonic fault lines were agitated by atmospheric overpressure. Entire continents vanished under Earth's unblinking wrath. It wasn't genocide, it was instruction. At the edge of the galaxy, thousands of species watched through encrypted feeds. Breath held, not one interfered, because they finally understood the lesson written into the stars. Touch one of ours, and we will touch the sky and bring it down on you. And amidst the fire, Dr. Alina Mirek was returned to her people. Med teams swarmed, AI surgeons worked, diplomats stood at silent attention as she emerged scarred, stitched, but alive. She stepped onto the bridge beside Ward. "I'm back," she whispered. Ward didn't smile. "We never left." Alina watched the flames dancing across the map of Rethkor. "This is too much," she whispered. Ward finally looked at her. "They made you scream." She met his gaze. "And now they'll scream forever." He paused. "No, they'll remember forever. That's worse. We didn't want a war. We wanted her back. You gave us war, so we gave you extinction." The Volari evacuation was frantic. Disorganized millions crammed into orbital lifters. Trade freighters, mining crawlers, even atmospheric shuttles, never designed for vacuum. Some exploded on launch. Others fought each other for docking ports. Above them, Earth's ships watched, unmoving, silent. Not out of mercy, out of control, because Earth's fleet wasn't in command anymore. The Helios array was fully charged, and it had no pause button. Inside the TNS Revenant, Admiral Ward stood in darkness. Only one red symbol blinked on the command deck. T-0 hours, 7 minutes, and 34 seconds. To final sequence. Dr. Alina Mirek sat beside him, wrapped in fresh bandages. Her fingers trembled, but her voice didn't. "We should stop this," she said softly. "The people escaping, most of them weren't soldiers." Ward didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the tactical feed, on the last sanctuary, world Valeries, Eden, where the warlords had fled. "Do you know what they did to you?" he finally said. She nodded. "Yes, but if we become them, then we didn't become them." He cut in. "We became something else." The countdown ticked lower. Across the galaxy, observers tuned in. The Zenth, the coalition of 12. All once called Earth primitive, emotional, naive. Now they whispered new words. Efficient, unyielding, unstoppable, and one word that echoed loudest of all. Human. At the last second, one Valari ship broke from the rest. A young captain's voice cried out over wideband. "We defied them. We protested the war. Don't punish our children." The beam above Helios 3 shimmered, then hesitated. On the Revenant, Ward's hand hovered over the override key. Alina stared at him. "This is your choice, Cassian, not Earth's yours." He exhaled and pressed a second key. Manual override engaged. Reprogramming, targeting parameters. The final Helios beam shifted, veering from the refugee world to the former Valari command station, where the warlords had holed up behind civilian shields. Then detonation. The light was silent. It washed the stars in gold. No shockwave. Explosion. Just evaporation, clean and surgical. Like justice delivered by a god who was tired of waiting. The Valari command was gone, but the refugee ships, they were left untouched. Aboard the Revenant, silence reigned. Then Alina spoke. "You made the right call." Ward's jaw was clenched. "They still lost their system. They earned that, but you didn't become a monster." Across the galaxy, new terms rippled through interstellar networks. Earth is awake. Earth has teeth. Earth doesn't bluff. The surviving Valari were relocated to a barren moon outside coalition jurisdiction. Not imprisoned, not killed, but reminded every dawn by a sunrise that looked far too much like a Helios burn of what they'd lost. Weeks later, Dr. Mirek stood before the United Terran Assembly, scars on her skin, fire in her voice. "We didn't ask for war," she said, "but we answered it. Because the stars won't respect our kindness. Unless they know our wrath,